Good evening and welcome to Salar Museum. Before I introduce our honorable guest, today's lecture guest, I want to share you that we are celebrating 75 years completing of Salar Museum Foundation. So I thanks each and everyone who works in Salar Museum at the time of the foundation to till date about their contribution in the promotion of the institution. Regarding our guest, Professor Azizuddin Saab, the historical journey, great institutions, someone says, a wise man says that great institutions are built by great scholars. Professor S.M. Azizuddin Husain is a unique academic bridge who carried the foundational training of Aligarh Muslim University to the leadership corridors of Jamia Millia Islamia and the historic Rampur Raza Library. The Aligarh Foundation. Before he became a renowned historian, Professor Husain was a young student soaking in the Aligarh Tehzeeb. His entire academic foundation was laid at AMU for high school 1967 to his post-graduation in medieval Indian history in 1973. It was in the classrooms of Aligarh that he mastered the art of reading history, a skill he would later use to decipher Persian manuscripts and define medieval Indian studies. Leading Jamia Millia Islamia, he spent over 4 decades at Jamia Millia Islamia, rising from a lecturer in 1976 to become the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and eventually the acting Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia. As a guardian of heritage, he serves as director of the Premchand Archives and the Zakir Hussain Archives at Jamia Millia Islamia. He ensured that the physical history of the university was preserved for future generations. The custodian of culture. His contribution extends to the national stage. He served as the director of the Rampur Raza Library, one of the world's most significant repositories of Indo-Islamic manuscripts under the Ministry of Culture, whether translating Kalimat-e-Aurangzeb or editing Tarikh-e-Feroz Shahi. He has made primary Persian sources accessible to the modern world. Instead of this, he is completing his 70 years and now still he is working to share the culture of Indian art and Indian heritage throughout the Gen Z. We all know that. So ये जो अज़ीज़ुद्दीन साहब का मुख्तसर सा खाका मैंने पेश किया, ये काफ़ी कम है. उन्होंने जो कंट्रीब्यूट किया है एज ए लेक्चरर जामिया मिल्लिया इस्लामिया में और उसके बाद एज ए डायरेक्टर ऑफ रामपुर रज़ा लाइब्रेरी, उन्होंने 75 से ज़्यादा उन्होंने जो कैटलॉग्स और अपनी किताबें वगैरह उन्होंने छोड़ी हैं. ये वक्त बहुत मुख्तसर है उनके कहने के लिए और हमने जितना कहा है उससे ज़्यादा उनकी पर्सनालिटी अपनी काबिलियत रखती है. तो मैं बहुत मशकूर हूँ हमारे क्यूरेटर साहिबा एजुकेशन ज्योति साहिबा का कि उन्होंने मुझे कुछ कहने की जो है यहाँ पे इजाज़त दी. शुक्रिया.
Now I request Kusum sir and Faridullah sahab to comment on the dais to present a tribute to Nawab Mir Yusuf Ali Khan as a tribute to do the garland. And also I request Professor Aziz sahab and AO sahab also to join. Without further delay, let us welcome Professor S.M. Azizuddin Sahab to share his thought and enrich our knowledge. Sir, over to you.
I'm highly grateful to Mrs. Priyanka Mary Francis, Mrs. Jyoti Roy, Mrs. Sajda for giving me an opportunity to share my views on this theme. Friends, basically as far as this topic is concerned, so we find that eminent historians of India like Professor Muhammad Habib, Professor Khalil Ahmed Nizami, Professor Asar Abbas Rizvi, and Western historians, M.R. Eaton and others, those who worked on Sufis of Deccan, they do not say a single word how the Sufis of Deccan contributed for the promotion of learning among the female of Deccan. And there is a total silence on this theme. And those historians and scholars, those who worked on women of Hyderabad and Deccan, like Professor Rekha Pandey and others, they are also equally silent on this issue. Now, as far as the promotion of female education is concerned, so we find that there is a direct guidance in Quran. Quran says that it is the duty of all to acquire knowledge, whether male or female. Then the other source of Islam is ahadith, or the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, where Prophet Muhammad said that it is the duty of all male and female to acquire knowledge. The fourth caliph and the first imam of the Shias, Hazrat Ali, said that everyone should acquire knowledge, and ignorance has no place in Islam. And he says that anyone who teaches me a word, he made me his slave. So this is the position. In one of the hadiths, Prophet said that it is the duty of Muslims, both male and female, to acquire knowledge from the cradle to the grave. No respite and nothing. My ancestor, Mir Sayyid Ali Hamdani, who is known in Kashmir as Shah Hamdan, he wrote a book, Zakhiratul Muluk. In that he writes that it is the duty of all knowledgeable persons to teach his family members and his relatives, the people living in his mohalla, or the people living in his city. And if he will fail in performing this duty, then on the day of judgment he or she will be responsible. Then when the Sufi movement started, so Ibn Arabi, who was the founder of Sufi philosophy, he wrote Futuhat-e-Makkiyah and Fusus-ul-Hikam. In that he says clearly that as far as spiritualism is concerned, so there is no difference between male and the female. Anybody can achieve excellence in what we call in Sufi spirit irfan, that as far as irfan is concerned, so if man tries or if woman tries, so they can reach the highest pinnacle of Islam, and there is no barrier as far as their achievement is concerned. Any difference that women will not sit, men only sit, and only women will be there. So in the classes, in the lectures of Ibn Arabi, both men and women were sitting. He has given Khirqa-e Khilafat to 14 disciples. Khirqa-e Khilafat means that now you have achieved that position, that now you can teach to others, now you can guide to others. So out of 14, 13 were female. So he had given Khirqa-e Khilafat to 13 women, that now you are eligible to teach and guide people, and not only women but also male members also. And we find during 7th, 8th century AD, there were Muslim female scholars, those who have written tafsir of Quran, and they have worked on ahadith, and later on the Muslim ulama attended their classes and taken guidance in tafsir, in fiqh, and other aspects of Islam is concerned. So we find there is a long list of female scholars during 7th and 8th century. Then we find that even in India, there was one famous poet, Amir Khusro. He writes in one of his verses that as far as the recognition of Christ is concerned, so it is not due to his father, but he is recognized from his mother, Maryam, not by father. So there is no difference between the male and the female as far as these merits are concerned. So all Sufis, they were talking about that, and they came to India with this message, and they tried to educate people. They established their khanqahs in Multan, Lahore, Delhi, Agra, and in Deccan, so many towns of Deccan, and they started imparting education to male and female disciples. But this aspect of life or the culture which was promoted by the Sufis is not taken into notice by the historians. Even the famous historian of Deccan, Harun Khan Sherwani, who has written on history of medieval Deccan, he is totally silent that how the Sufis educated the women of Deccan. When I was working as an honorary professor in Maulana Azad National Urdu University, then I started working on the biographies of Sufis of Deccan. I came here to consult some of the sources of the Sufis available in Salar Jung Museum. I visited Salar Jung Museum for the first time in 1974 while I was pursuing my research after MA. So I was gathering information from Asfiya Library, Telangana State Archives, and till this day I'm having 129 titles of the books which Sufis of Deccan had written for the guidance of the female. 129 books they have written, like Khwaja Sayyid Muhammad Husaini Gezuzaraz wrote Charkhanama, and some Sufis wrote Chakkinama. So these two things, Chakka, Chakki and Charkha, basically is a part of the life of the people. And as a Muslim you must be knowing that Prophet Muhammad had given one Chakki to his daughter Hazrat Fatima when he married her with Hazrat Ali. So Chakki is related to food and Charkha is related to your clothes. So in medieval you have no respite from Chakki and Charkha. All women had to work either on Chakki or on Charkha. So these Sufis thought that if we write Chakkinama and Charkhanama, and what is Chakkinama and Charkhanama? Not related to Chakki or not related to Charkha, but the whole Islam in Deccani in a poetic form. So, and when a woman was grinding the grain in the Chakki, she was reciting that Chakkinama, and other family members were listening to her, and all Islamic fundamentals becoming clear to all family members every day. When they were doing Charkha, again they were reciting, and they memorized both Chakkinama and Charkhanama. I had written one article on the influence of Sufism on Mahatma Gandhi, and in that I have proved that Mahatma Gandhi had taken inspiration from the Charkha of the Sufis of the Deccan, because if in Congress, if we introduce the Charkha and those national songs are recited by the women, so that will create a rhythm in their body, and they will started working for the Sufi movement. So, and they wrote Tawfatun Nisa, Tambihun Nisa, and they even wrote a book in Deccani for the women, Azai Niswa, the body of the women, and Amrazi Niswa, diseases of the women. So now all these women, those who were attached with the Khanqahs, they were reading that literature. So I have written that if any woman is reading all those literature, 110 books, then she will become a scholar. She will become a scholar and she will guide. And I remember that even during my childhood, all the families which were related to the Sufi Khanqahs and the Sufi Dargahs, so some female of the villages, they were coming to my maternal grandmother and they were asking some herbs for the diseases and they were using the. So this literature had also reached up to the village level, and even those women, those who were attached with the khanqahs and the dargahs, they were having the courage to deliver lectures and to guide the women, and that is why we find all the Sufis were having the family members, both male and female, were all well educated and they were having the clear understanding of Islam, and they were not having any confusion as far as Islam is concerned. In this paper I have written one khutbah of Hazrat Zainab, the granddaughter of Prophet Muhammad and the daughter of Hazrat Ali and the Hazrat Fatima and the sister of Imam Hussain. After the tragedy of Karbala in 680, when they were taken as a captive second day to Kufa, a town of Iraq. So there in the court of Ibn Ziyad, she had delivered a khutbah or a lecture. I don't have time so much so that I can read the khutbah. Now, who was Zainab, who was going to the mosque, listening to the sermons of Prophet Muhammad while he was leading the Friday prayer. Then she was going to the mosque, listening to the Jummah khutbahs and Eidan khutbahs and all that. This and the family life and all the teaching which was going on in that family basically brought her at this platform that she was highly educated. And if you find this khutbah, so one day before, on 10th Muharram 680, her 22 relatives were killed. One day before. And the second day, she delivered this khutbah with a very perfect words. If anybody is not aware of the tragedy of Karbala, so he will not believe that this woman belongs to a family whose 22 persons were killed. Now this suggests that how these people were educating the family members of their, and especially the women. So, and these khutbahs were quite popular in the Sufi khanqahs. They were reciting, it was part of their curriculum, and they were teaching all these lectures and the khutbahs delivered by them. Now we find that in all the khanqahs of the Deccan, from Hyderabad down to Aurangabad, and everywhere you will find that these Sufis had taken interest in the education of the women. Now a culture came up, and North is lagging behind. In North we do not find such an attitude of the Sufis of northern India, though we find Sheikh Muinuddin Chishti was the important Sufi of North, and his position is very high among the Sufis of India, or other Sufis, Sheikh Fariduddin Ganshakar or Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. There we do not find such type of attention paid by the Sufis for the promotion of female education in North. But I don't know how the Sufis of Deccan were very much involved with the philosophy of Ibn Arabi. Now these Asif Jahi rulers, those who became the ruler of Deccan, so basically they were the descendants of a Sufi, Sheikh Shahabuddin Suhrawardi. So he belonged to a Sufi family, and when they became the ruler of Hyderabad, so they paid full attention for the upliftment of the female, and they have opening schools like Nampalli's school in 1892. So this is the influence of the Sufis, that 1892 in North you will not find, 1912 we find that Justice Azizuddin Husain opened a school in Lucknow, 1912, and here in 1892 one school is open. And 1923 in Usmania University co-education was started. So this suggests that they were the descendants of a Sufi, so they adopted the same attitude as far as education is concerned, or the upliftment of women is concerned. The other thing which I find in this, that in 1813 that we were not taking interest. So the question which arises is that when Islam, when Quran says like this, when Hadith say like this, when Sufis work for this, so where we lost, how Muslims became backward, how we find the literacy rate among the Muslim women has gone up. In Iran we find there is a literacy rate among women is 85% Muslim women are literate in Iran. But in India, if you will find, the Muslims are not so conscious, especially the Muslim women, as far as the education is concerned. Debate is going on whether we should, and you can see the condition of Afghanistan today. Those who say that USA lost its battle in Afghanistan, I say USA didn't lost, it achieved, because they closed the gates of the girls' schools, girls' colleges in Afghanistan, and they achieved the goal. US achieved the goal. They want to keep the people of other countries illiterate, uneducated, and backward. So we find where we lost. Basic problem started from 661 AD, when Islamic Shuri system, or in the modern words we can say Islamic democratic system, was lost, and the kingship was adopted. And I say that in 641, during the caliphate of Hazrat Umar, Iran was conquered in 641. And 661, we switched over to hereditary monarchy. Hereditary monarchy. While as far as hereditary monarchy is concerned, it has nothing to do with pre-Islamic polity or with the polity of Islam, because Islam does not believe in hereditary monarchy. But this blunder was committed by most of the non-Muslim historians, or even Muslim historians is concerned. They considered it the rule from 13th century down to the fall of the Mughal Empire as an Islamic state. It is not an Islamic state. It is a Muslim state, it is a Turkish state, but it has nothing to do with Islam as far as polity is concerned, political structure is concerned. Now when monarchy came, same injustices we apply. We say that Britishers follow the principle of divide and rule. No. Hindu Rajas also follow divide and rule. Muslim Sultans and Badshahs also followed divide and rule, and British rulers also followed the divide and rule. And basically the sufferers were lower classes and the women in the monarchical setup. And that is why we find in the Muslim monarchies no attention was paid, and haram were designed, and they were put in the haram, and they were using for their sex and pleasures and dance and everything, and educational right was taken back from them. The first chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University, Begum Sultan Jahan, in 1920, she delivered a speech in Aligarh, and she said in Urdu that she addressed the Muslim women کہ تم سے تعلیم کے حق کو لے لیا گیا اور آج تمہاری حالت یہ ہے کہ تمہیں یہ بھی پتہ نہیں کہ تم کو یہ حق اسلام نے دیا تھا اور یہ تم سے حق چھین لیا گیا اور آج تم بالکل ناخواندہ ہو, تمہاری کوئی پوزیشن اس سوسائٹی کے اندر نہیں. دس واز سیڈ بائی بیگم سلطان جہاں, فرسٹ چانسلر اپوائنٹڈ بائی دی برٹش گورنمنٹ آف علی گڑھ مسلم یونیورسٹی. So, the Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University said it, that this was the condition. Now, I'll conclude it. As far as those who are Gail Minold or Rekha Pandey and others, those who are working on Muslim women, Rekha Pandey has written articles on the Muslim women of Hyderabad. She says that there is a paucity of sources.
اس طریقے سے نارتھ میں خصوصاً خواجہ ہند ولی, خواجہ بندہ نواز کے پاس ایسی کوئی چیزیں نہیں ملتی ہیں یا کوئی بک وغیرہ یا کوئی مینuscript نہیں ملتی جس سے کہ ہمیں پتہ چلے کہ وہاں پر یہ جو سسٹم تھا کہ صوفیہ کے تھرو جو ہے جو خواتین کی تعلیم کی طرف توجہ دلائی گئی, یہ نہیں ملتی. حالانکہ ہم یہ دیکھتے ہیں کہ خواجہ بندہ نواز خود سلسلہ جو ہے وہ جا کے جو ہے چشتیہ سلسلہ کے خواجگان سے ملتا ہے. تو یہ جو گیپ رہی دکن میں اور پھر اوپر نارتھ میں, اس کی وجہ کیا رہی ہوگی, یا پھر یا کوئی ایسی کتاب ہوگی یا کوئی ایسا مخطوطہ ہوگا جو شاید ہم آج تک اس تک نہ پہنچے ہوں.
ہاں فرید صاحب, جہاں تک میری نالج ہے ہندوستان کی جتنی اورینٹل لائبریریز ہیں اور برٹش لائبریری, برلن لائبریری, آکسفورڈ, ان تمام کے میرے کیٹلاگس کو دیکھا ہے اور مجھے نارتھ کے کسی صوفی کا کوئی ایک بھی کتاب عورتوں کی گائیڈنس کے لیے مجھے نہیں ملی. مطلب گائیڈنس تو گائیڈنس, جسٹس کرامت حسین جو سرزیت کے ساتھی تھے, تو انہوں نے سرزیت سے کہا کہ آپ تو میل ایجوکیشن کی بات کر رہے ہیں, فیمیل کی تو بات کر لیں, آپ کر لیجئے فیمیل ایجوکیشن. تو انہوں نے لکھنؤ جا کے سنی اور شیعہ علماء کی ایک میٹنگ بلائی اور کہا کہ میں چاہتا ہوں کہ لکھنؤ میں ایک لڑکیوں کا اسکول کھولا جائے تاکہ وہاں لڑکیوں کی اسکول تعلیم ہو سکے. ویسے ڈیوائڈڈ تھے سنی شیعہ علماء, لیکن اس پہ وہ یونائٹڈ ہو گئے اور انہوں نے کہا کہ لکھنؤ میں کوئی لڑکیوں کا اسکول نہیں کھلے گا. اور جب 1912 میں کھولا انہوں نے, جو آج کالج بن گیا ہے کرامت حسین مسلم گرلس کالج, تو جب کرامت حسین کا انتقال ہوا تو وہاں جتنے شیعہ قبرستان تھے سب نے منع کر دیا کہ کرامت حسین کی باڈی کو ہمارے قبرستان میں دفن نہیں کیا جائے گا. تو لکھنؤ کے آؤٹ اسکرٹ پہ ایک کربلائی تال کٹورا ہے, وہاں بیچارے کی باڈی کو دفن کیا گیا. تو نارتھ میں پتہ نہیں کیوں فیمیل ایجوکیشن سے اس قدر دشمنی تھی اور اس قدر نفرت تھی کہ نہیں, جس آدمی نے اس کو وہ کیا پروموٹ, اس کو دفن ہونے نہیں دیا.
Professor Husain, my question relates to the literature that you have come across in different libraries across the country. You said you come across about 500 plus manuscripts of books that talk about women's education. And you've said these are in languages, and this is a real challenge for any student of history, is the inability to read classical languages like Persian or even, Urdu or Dakhini. the challenge is going to be that going forward there are not too many people coming into researching history. Forget about being able to learn these classical languages, be Arabic or Persian. How do you think technology probably can be used in the current circumstances that we have artificial intelligence? Can there be research or initiatives that can be taken to use current technology to translate these manuscripts or books that I very strongly believe will remain there and in very poor state because of the condition of our archives, and will the history of what is contained in them will remain unknown to the world, and as we move forward, can there be technology that can be used to make them more intelligible, just us being able to translate and read them? Thank you.
Yes, I fully agree with you, but there should be a will. Harun Khan Sherwani, he remained head of the Department of History of Usmani for a very long time, and no thesis was done on this topic. Nothing. So we don't have a will. And West, Germany, France, or England, or US, while I was in Rampur at the library, even scholars, German scholars, they were working on Arabic sources and they were speaking fluent Arabic. But our lacuna is researches which are going on in JNU, DU, Jamia, Aligarh, or Hyderabad Central University and other. They are not laying emphasis on the source material. And the problem is, I will not name, when I applied for research in JNU in 1973, and I was having a topic of my research, Mughal administrative problems in the Deccan in the light of Inayat Jung collection documents, the Telangana State Archives. So, and at that time, there were eminent historians at JNU, Romila Thapar and S. Gopal or Bipin Chandra. They were all very eminent historians. So when I applied and I submitted my synopsis, so the question was, who will supervise this research scholar? So somebody suggested the name of Harvas Mukhia. So one Majid, Professor Majid, he raised the question. Research scholar knows the language, but the supervisor doesn't know the language. How he will guide the research? So here lies the problem. So we have to pay attention, not only here, but even in the central universities like Hyderabad Central. The main objective of the government was that if it is not done by Osmania University, it should be done in Hyderabad Central University. But they did not pay any attention to see all those documents. For example, there are 14 lakh documents in Telangana State Archives. How many scholars of Hyderabad have consulted those documents? None. None. So, what government can do when we are not ready to consult? But your suggestion is, yes, is if government or UGC or if they take it, it will work. But even then, one had to work. For example, in 1974, I came to Hyderabad and I stayed there for 15 days and I compared my manuscript with the manuscript available in Salar Museum, Kalimat-e-Tayyibat. It was the collection of Aurangzeb's notes which he used to give in the meeting of Musalkhana, in short notes. So you will have to come, you will have to sit, you will have to take the services of Farid Saab. How many people will come? I have seen his register, Maulana Azad National University, Hyderabad Central University, and Usmani. How many scholars of history, Persian, and Arabic are coming to his section? How many? And Dalrymple has written, when he wrote on 1857, when we were going to celebrate 150 years, that I came from my hometown to Delhi and stayed for 3 years and faced summer in Delhi. But why the scholars, historians from JNU and DU and Jamia failed to consult those sources which are lying in National Archives of India. So this is our position. فیمیل کی طرف سے کوئی سوال نہیں ہوگا, یہ تو صوفیوں نے فیمیل کے لیے کیا. میرے جوتی نہیں
مسئلہ تو یہی ہے سر کہ میل آر ریپریزنٹنگ پیچھے ہٹ جانا چاہیے.
تو کیا مطلب آر دیر اینی ویمن رائٹرز فرام دس ٹائم جن کے کام مطلب جو بھی طریقہ ہوتا تھا ان کو لکھنے کا اور پبلش کرنے کا, وہ کیا واز دیٹ کامن اسپیشلی یو نو in this era during the Asr Jahis or even otherwise in the Deccan?
یہ ارلی 20th سینچری میں پھر اس کا نتیجہ یہ ہوا کہ عورتوں نے لکھنا شروع کیا, جو نارتھ میں نہیں ملتا, جو نارتھ میں نہیں ہے. یہ لوگ لکھ رہے ہیں اور رسالے نکال رہے ہیں اور نساء نکال رہے ہیں اور پتہ نہیں کون کون سے رسالے یہاں نکل رہے ہیں, اور یہ پوری بحث چل رہی ہے پردے کے اوپر, اور یہ سارا چیز چل رہی ہے. اور یہ جمعے کے خطبے پہ کہ جب آپ ہم کو جانے نہیں دیں گے تو خطبہ تو ہم سنتے ہی نہیں, تو خطبہ تو صرف میل ممبرس کے لیے ہو گیا, فیمیل سے کوئی مطلب نہیں. وہ تو گھر میں کھانا بنائیں, پھر فرید صاحب جا کے جمعے کی نماز پڑھ کے کھانا کھائیں. تو یہ جو پورا مونارکیکل سیٹ اپ آیا جس نے عورت کو گھر میں بٹھا دیا, اور اس کو جو سورسز تھے, جو ایونیوز تھے ایجوکیشن کے, وہ بند کر دیے گئے اس عورت کے لیے.
اور ایک اور سوال کہ مطلب جو یہ رائٹنگز ہیں, کیا یہ کیول آر دے اونلی آن ریلیجیس تھیمز اور تھیمز آف رائٹس اور پوئٹری, اور آر دیر آلسو ادر کائنڈز آف فیکلٹیز جیسے
لیگل رائٹس پہ, لیگل رائٹس پہ کہ کیا ہمارے حق ہیں, کیا حقوق ہیں. آپ یہ دیکھیے, آپ کا کیا نام ہے؟ ہاں اچھا. 1938 میں انگریزوں نے کہا کہ بھائی ہم کو تو آپ کا پرسنل لا پتہ نہیں, تو شیعہ سنی علماء کی ایک کمیٹی بنا دی کہ بھئی آپ پرسنل لا ہمیں بنا دیجیے, ہم اس کا انگریزی ٹرانسلیشن کرا دیں گے, اپنے جج کو دے دیں گے. تو ہم نے کیا کیا, اسلام نے عورت کو ایگریکلچر لینڈ میں لائٹ دیا, حصہ دیا, گھر میں بھی دیا اور باغ میں بھی دیا اور ایگریکلچر لینڈ میں بھی دیا. 1938 میں جو ہم نے پرسنل لا بنایا, عورت کو اس کے حق سے نکال دی. تو اور یہ صوفی کہہ رہے ہیں, اور یہ عورتیں جو لیگل اس پہ لکھ رہی ہیں, یہ کہہ رہے ہیں خلا کا حق لے لیا گیا, ختم کر دیا گیا, کہ صرف طلاق رہے گی, خلا نہیں رہے گا. تو ایسی بہت سی زیادتیاں عورتوں کے ساتھ ہوئیں بیکاز آف اگنورینس. ان کو پتہ ہی نہیں تھا کہ ہمارے رائٹس کیا ہیں, اسلام نے ہمیں کیا رائٹ دی. اس لیول پہ پہنچا دیا اگنورینس کی کہ کچھ پتہ نہیں. جو سلطان جہاں بیگم دی فرسٹ چانسلر ہو, کہ تم آج اس اسٹیج میں آ گئی ہو کہ تمہیں اپنے حقوق کا ہی پتہ نہیں کہ تمہارے حقوق کیا ہیں. تو اسلام ذمہ دار نہیں ہے, قطعی ذمہ دار نہیں ہے. یہ مونارکی کا جو انسٹیٹیوشن ہے یہ ذمہ دار. 1813 میں جب یہ چارٹر دیا ہے تو انہوں نے یہ کہہ کے دیا کہ یہ جو پیسہ ہم دے رہے ہیں ایجوکیشن کے لیے, یہ صرف میل ایجوکیشن پہ خرچ ہوگا, فیمیل پہ نہیں, کیونکہ انڈین سوسائٹی دشمن ہے, اینیمی لکھا ہے, اینیمی آف فیمیل ایجوکیشن. وہ جھگڑے میں مت پڑنا, صرف میل کو ایجوکیٹ کرنے کی بات کرنا. تو ہم اس لیول پہ پہنچ گئے تھے کہ ہم نے اس وقت آپ دیکھیے ستی کو ختم کرنے میں کتنی اسٹرگل کرنی پڑی, کیسا بنا دیا تھا, ایک ہالو کریٹ کر دیا گیا ستی کے سلسلے میں, پھر وہ ختم ہوئی. تو وہ اس طریقے کی چیزیں صوفیہ نے ان کو ختم کیا. صوفیہ نے کہا کہ یہ تمہارے رائٹس ہیں. میں آپ کو ایک مثال دوں, بلبن کا بیٹا تھا محمد, اس کی شادی ہوئی سلطان ناصر الدین محمود کی بیٹی سے. یہ لوگ شادی اس لیے کرتے تھے تاکہ ان کو حکومت کرنے میں مدد ملے, کہ ان کا تعلق امپیریل فیملی سے ہے. وہ شراب پیتا تھا. ایک دن اس کے پاس گیا, اس نے کہا نہیں تم جب شراب پیا کرو تو میرے پاس مت آیا کرو. اس کو غصہ آیا, اس نے طلاق دے دی اس کو. اب جو ہوش آیا تو اس کو یہ لگا کہ میں طلاق تو دے دیا, ہوگا کیا اس کا, اور جس سے اس کا نکاح ہوگا وہ کیوں اسے طلاق دے گا, کیونکہ سلطان کی بیٹی ہے, اس کے لیے خود ایک بہت بڑی وہ ہوگی. تو شیخ عارف تھے وہاں ملتان میں سہروردی سلسلے کے, تو انہوں نے قاضی سے کہا کہ تم ان سے بات کرو کہ بھئی اگر وہ تیار ہو جائیں کہ نکاح کر لیں پھر اگلے دن طلاق دے دیں. خیر وہ تیار ہو گئے, وہ کہا ٹھیک ہے کوئی بات نہیں ہم طلاق دے دیں گے اگر سلطان کی بات ہے. تو جب اگلے دن قاضی گئے ان کے پاس تو ان کو پتہ چلا, ان کی بیوی کو, یہ جو ناصر الدین محمود کی بیٹی تھی, تو اب وہی کیونکہ بہت ایجوکیٹڈ تھی, انہوں نے کہا کہ یہ بتائیے آپ مجھے کہ میں نے کیا جرم کیا ہے جو آپ مجھے طلاق دے رہے ہیں. کوئی طلاق کسی جرم کی وجہ سے تو دیں گے, کسی کو قید کر رہے ہیں آپ تو کوئی جرم ہی تو ہوگا تبھی تو آپ قید کریں گے. اب وہ چکرا گئے, انہوں نے کہا جرم تو کچھ نہیں کیا. تو کہلے جرم نہیں کیا تو اگر طلاق دی تو حشر میں اللہ کے سامنے یہ شکایت کروں گی, تمہارے سارا شیخ دم جو ہے نا وہ سب زیرو ہو کے رہ جائے گی. انہوں نے کہا کہ بھائی میں نہیں دے رہا طلاق, میں نہیں دے رہا طلاق. تو خیر گئے قاضی, تو ان کا منہ لٹکا ہوا. تو محمد سمجھ گیا کہ ہو گیا گڑبڑ. کیا ہوا, ان کو منع کر دیا. اس نے وہی ان کا گلا کٹوا دیا. تو جو نالجبل عورتیں تھیں انہوں نے کہا کہ بھائی یہ بتائیے کس جرم میں دے رہے ہیں آپ مجھے طلاق, اور اگر جرم نہیں کیا ہے تو پھر آپ کو مجھے طلاق دینے کا ساری عبادت آپ کی جو تک اب تک کی ہے سب ختم ہو جائے گی. تو یہ وہ ہے کہ جن کو ایجوکیٹ کیا گیا.
سر میرا سوال ہے بندہ نواز کی جو خانقاہ میں کیا اس دور میں خالی میل جو تھے مرد صرف انہی کو تعلیمات یا مریدین بنایا جاتا تھا, پھر یا خواتین کا بھی دور تھا؟
خواتین بھی تھی.
خواتین بھی کہ ہسٹوریکل پوائنٹ آف ویو سے بھی ہم کو مینuscript کے بھی اس چیز کا حوالہ ملتا ہے.
بالکل خواتین تھیں اسی دائرے میں, اسی دائرے میں.
کیا سلسلہ چشتیہ میں ہی اس دور چیز پہ غور کیا گیا ہے یا دوسرے
ادھر کم ہے؟
جی
ادھر نہیں ہے, ادھر کم ہے.
جی وہی پوچھنا چاہ رہے ہیں کیونکہ بندہ نواز ایک ایسی درگاہ ہے, وہ ایسے خانقاہ ہے ہسٹوریکل پوائنٹ آف ویو میں آج بھی کہ وہاں پہ تعلیم دینے کا جو سلسلہ حضرت سے جو شروع ہوا ہے آج بھی چل رہا ہے. ناؤ اٹ بیکیم دا یونیورسٹی ان ون آف دا پرائیویٹ فرسٹ یونیورسٹی ان دا ہسٹری آف کرناٹکا. سو ان دس پوائنٹ آف ویو آئی جسٹ وانٹ ٹو ٹیل دیٹ ڈیورنگ دیٹ ٹائم ویدر اٹ از اے پوائنٹ دیٹ کہ جسٹ وہ خالی کہنے کے لیے کہتے تھے کہ تعلیم ضروری ہے خواتین کے لیے, یا پھر اس دور میں ہوا کرتی تھی ان کے لیے؟
انہوں نے یہ دکنی میں چرخہ نامہ لکھا اور فارسی میں کئی کتابیں لکھیں عورتوں کی گائیڈنس کے لیے. تو وہ لوگ ان لوگوں نے انٹرسٹ لیا, لیکن نارتھ کی مجھے تو کم از کم بڑی صاحب کوئی کتاب نہیں ملی کہ کسی صوفی نے عورتوں کی گائیڈنس کے لیے لکھا ہو.
بہت شکریہ.
ہماری جو اہلیہ ہیں میرا گھر مسجد کے سامنے ہے, جمعے کا خطبہ سنتی ہیں, اور اس کے علاوہ میری جو डीए वगैरह पे उस पर भी उनकी नज़र है क्योंकि वो पढ़ी लिखी है और जब भी डीए आता है उनसे पसंद करती है कि आपने मुझे बताया नहीं। इसके अलावा चूँकि खानखाई निज़ाम से मैं जुड़ा हुआ हूँ, हर महीना मेरे पास हल्का जिक्र होता है, उसमें ख़वातीन का भी जो एक सेशन होता है, तो ये नमाज चल रही है।
Hello, sir. So you're saying Sufis have promoted the women's education in Deccan, but today Sufis have promoted the women's education in Deccan, but even today we see women are not allowed inside the mosques and even the dargahs of Sufi saints' tombs and even graveyards. So do you think? I think they should be allowed, but what do you think is the solution? Like how, even after so much education, so much promotion by Sufis, women are not allowed inside the dargahs, the innermost area.
No, so, if you read the contemporary histories, when Imam Hassan, the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, died and his funeral procession was going on, so Tabri, the author of Tariq Tabri, writes that women were also there with his funeral, and Prophet's daughter, Hazrat Fatima, used to go to, what is that? क्या है उस कब्रिस्तान का नाम? कब्रिस्तान का नाम क्या है? जन्नतुल बकी. So this is all feudal attitude. This is monarchical attitude. In dargahs, the entry of women is not allowed. Such type of things came up. But in the dargah of Sheikh Salim Chashti at Fatehpur Sikri, all are allowed. Men and women, all are allowed. Why you debar women from the entry of the, even in Iran, the Imam Raza's Roza is there. All men and women, all are going to visit his dargah and grave. There is no such type of division or discrimination between men and women.
So unfortunately we do have the problem now. So unfortunately we still have the problem. So what do you think is the solution?
It will continue if you will not move.
How do we solve it?
No, if you will not move.
Thank you for your talk, sir. I have a follow-up question to that. We see the radical strain of Islam popularizing in Afghanistan and Sudan, where they're using it to ban women from, getting their rights, not just education, but everything. And Sufism is the strain that can be used as a defense for these rights. But there's no revival of that. As far as I've seen, it's sort of considered something that's a little bit more neutral or secular or feigned. So how do we use manuscripts and all the sources that we have, in Deccan or even some in the north? How do we use that to sort of counter that? Can we revive it, or is it a lost cause? I don't want to be negative about it.
Basically, at present, we don't have the existence of Sufi movement at all, because the Khanqa culture was replaced to Dargah culture. And in Dargah there is nothing. You just go and pray with the grave of the Sufi. And these Sufis, early Sufis, they were not having the Dargah culture. They were having the Khanqa culture. They were playing an important role in the society. Now that role is not there. And in the dargahs you will find korma, biryani, and all sorts of the food and everything, but not the message at all, because they are not following. For example, I'll give you one example. I was working on the Sufis of Punjab and Sufis of Rajasthan. There is a Malfuz literature also. So Sheikh Azizuddin Nagori of Nagaur, the Khalifa of Sheikh Muhyiddin Chishti, he compiled his Malfuzat in the title as Surur Sudu and Nurul Budu. He has discussed about the significance of and the importance of Najul Balagha. So I think in 2018, my daughter was posted in Jodhpur, and it was only 25 kilometers. This Nagaur. I went there. I met Sajjada Nashin, and I told him that your forefather, whose dargah is this, he has referred to Najul Balagha. Do you have any copy of Najul Balagha in your library? He was looking at me as he has no idea of Najul Balagha. So this is the level of our knowledge now. 13th century they were having knowledge of Najul Balagha. 20th century they don't have any knowledge of Najul Balagha.
Do you think a revival of Sufi movement is possible?
You do something for that.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you, Professor Azizuddin Sahab, for concluding the remark that the educational right of women, which is meant by the monarchs, and how the education of female is very important. That's why it is a quotation is there. एक मर्द की तालीम एक फर्द की तालीम होती है और एक औरत की तालीम सारे कुंबे की तालीम होती है. So through this, firstly, I would like to thank our dynamic director, Ms. Priyanka friends, for always supporting us for each and every activities, encouraging. Whenever we put any note for educational activity, without delay, they sanction us. That is the most important thing. We got the support from our authority. Secondly, I would like to thank our inspector, Dr. Nayak sir. Same. Whenever we put a note for any kind of educational activity, we thought then just he'll ask when is the date and who is coming. Then he will do the sign also. And thirdly, I would like to thank AO sir also. And most importantly, I would like to thank our curator, Ms. Jyoti Rao. She is so energetic and so supportive and always put in new ideas, and most importantly, she encourages us to do the new things. That is the most important. Thank you, you also, ma'am. Thank you everyone who was associated with everyone from the photography section, from display section, every person, to arranging the refreshment, from patient to everyone, and all the senior curators, those who are present here, all the invitees, media persons for joining us, encouraging, and the most important part of this session is the interactive session, that is the questionnaire, which is the most important part always done by the Mr. Faridullah Sari Sahab. हर एक सेशन में इनका सवाल रहता ही रहता है, उसके लिए बहुत, क्योंकि सवालात का होना बहुत ज़रूरी होता है किसी भी सेशन को पूरा करने के लिए. मैं फिर से और आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ इस जलसे को कामयाब बनाने के लिए. थैंक यू वन एंड ऑल. थैंक यू.